I teased you a little bit with the Democrats that were election deniers. We're going to get right back to that here in just a few minutes. But I want to make sure that I give our guest, Denise Lite, an adequate amount of time here for these copious questions that we're going to ask her. And of course, we do the same thing that they do over at MSNBC and CNN. We give everyone the questions beforehand. I'm just kidding. But I do want to welcome to our show Denise Lite.
Hello.
Denise, tell us a little bit about your last name.
Uh, it's definitely easier than my former last name, which was Placencio. I would go to court and the judges would say, Miss Placenta. And I was like,
Wow.
oh, whoa.
Yeah.
So I'm very happy to have a new four-letter last name, Light.
Very good.
Yes.
Denise Lite. That is a rather interesting name. What's the origin of that? What's your husband's last name?
That is my husband's last name, Light.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Oh, well, the origins, I'm not quite sure, because he was adopted,
Okay.
but that was his father's last name. So
By the way, this your last name is not going to necessarily, mean that you're going to get city council or not get city council, but it's a nice last name, Denise Lite. I've been teasing you, saying Santa Clarita needs to see the light.
correct, you have.
And so, well, Denise, can you tell the folks that are listening in, why are you running for city council? Why do you think it's important to run?
Well, yeah, you touched on something that I say all of the time, which is there is nothing that can happen in Washington that will affect our daily lives more than what happens on school board, water board, and city council.
Sure.
Washington gets all the attention, it gets all the news, it's fancy, but what we do here with our local officials is far more important to our day-to-day happiness than what happens there.
Absolutely.
So I can tell you why I'm not running. I'm not running because I need another job. And I'm not running because I need a $2,000 a month stipend or health insurance,
Sure.
like some candidates are running.
Mm-hmm.
Why I am running is because I love this city so much. I have two children. I'm a business owner in this community. I'm a homeowner in this community. I'm a mama bear in this community. And I want to make sure that this community stays safe and prosperous for everybody for the next 20 years. So that's why I'm running.
So you have a stake in this because you live in the community.
I do. And, it's so funny. 13 years ago, when I moved out here from Calabasas, I thought, wow, Valencia, it's like going to Oregon. It is far, and now I can't even imagine myself living on the quote other side of the hill in the San Fernando Valley.
No, I get it. Of course, that other side gets a little cooler than us, though.
Well, it depends on which day of the year it is, but yeah.
I guess that's true. But
And I'll take the heat over the open space any time of the day.
absolutely, I completely agree. I love the city as well, and Lord willing, we'll see what happens in November. But let me ask you another question, Denise. What skills and experiences would you do, or would you bring to the table if, in fact, you were elected this November?
Well, a lot of people don't know, but I am a trained lawyer. I've been running my own law firm for 26 years. I have taken a specialist exam in the field of law, which very few judges have passed in my field, and I have passed. I've taken a mediation certificate program. And when you're a lawyer, you have to be able to do two things really well. Number one, you have to listen before you talk, because you can either find the weakness in your opponent's case, or you can figure out what the need is that can be met and be thinking about solutions. So you have to be a good listener before you can be a good talker.
Sure.
The second skill is advocacy. You don't run a successful law firm for 26 years by being an unsuccessful advocate. You have to be able to frame the issues, know the other side inside and out, and be able to address those things.
Mm-hmm.
And those two skills, I believe, will be critically important going forward on the city council.
Very good. What do you believe to be the top three most pressing concerns for the community in the Santa Clarita Valley, and why do you believe they are the pressing issues?
The top three pressing concerns in the valley, as I see them, are number one, public safety.
Mm-hmm.
We have a district attorney in Los Angeles who doesn't care about humanity.
Whose name shall not be spoken here.
And he has basically decriminalized crime.
Mm-hmm.
And every time I talk to people, people are feeling more and more unsafe. They're feeling more and more worried about their family safety. So public safety to me is very important. We have a local sheriff's station group of guys and gals in the sheriff's department who are working 30, 40 days straight without a day off because they're down 30%. So in my opinion, the city needs to work harder at getting more contracted time, because we are a contract service valley, and maybe spending money on non-essential not spending money on non-essential things and putting more money into contracting more time. So public safety, number one. Number two, homelessness. Santa Clarita in the last 4 years Santa Clarita residents have paid $26.8 million in Measure H tax funds to the county.
Yeah.
And we have only received back $675,000 of those funds. So if I had to be critical, which I am, I would say that there has been very poor advocacy on our city's part in getting money back to us that we have paid. Because that is a 2.5% return on investment. And if I was only 2.5% successful in my practice, I wouldn't be practicing anymore.
And that's not a great return even on a CD.
Well, right, exactly. So we are not getting our money's worth, no pun intended,
Sure.
on our Measure H funds.
I know that in Santa Clarita, we're really good at hiding a lot of our homeless, but there's no doubt that, it's becoming more and more prevalent. So I think this being your second most pressing issue, I think is something that voters are thinking about as well.
Well, yeah, and you see people on the street, and I had a chance to meet one of the candidates, Cody Amore, who is a homeless resident, and he had some very solid points that he made. But homelessness is not always chosen. Sometimes people go through a divorce. Sometimes they have a catastrophic medical event that bankrupts them. Sometimes they have family issues. We need to figure out a way to put our hand out to these people so we can help them out of their situation.
Sure.
Because hopefully it never happens, but it should be transitory at best, and we have to figure that out. It's a multifaceted, it's a political question, it's a social question, it's an economic question, but I can tell you one thing, it is not solved purely by money.
Absolutely. So public safety, homelessness, what's that third?
Economic vitality. I've been a business owner for 26 years. I know what it's like to have the responsibility of feeding families on our shoulders. I know businesses and friends of mine who had businesses who closed during COVID. Now that we know better and we have the hindsight of the last 2 years, I think we can do better in keeping our businesses open, advocating for exemptions with the county, because the county of Los Angeles, those people in downtown Los Angeles don't give a whit about us in Northern County.
No, you're absolutely
right. They
right.
don't. So I would like to have a better economic vitality plan so that if and when another pandemic arises,
Lord help us.
We have a better plan in place.
Yeah, well, it probably won't be monkeypox. Since LA County Health has created a one-size-fits-all on passing out emergency health mandates, and of course this is a question that I think a lot of us have been wondering about, especially in the last couple of years with the Dr. Death down there, Barbara Ferrer, who one of my members at church like to call her the Crypt Keeper. I think that's probably good. She does look a little bit like the Crypt Keeper. So what are your thoughts on the city creating a health administration that can better cater to the healthcare needs of our valley and kind of separate us from greater LA County, generally speaking, and stay away from Barbara Ferrer?
I don't know that we will ever be able to fully stay away from LA County. We are within their jurisdiction. However, if we were to have our own public health safety officer who is an actual medical doctor, we could have...
That's unique.
We could have a person advocating on our behalf who has knowledge of the facts and demographics. You cannot compare a valley and a city like Santa Clarita and the density to downtown Los Angeles.
Yeah.
You just can't. We have far more open space. We have less density. And to say that a one-size-fits-all approach should serve the entire county is just absurd. And so having that public safety officer, it may not get us to where we want, but it will help us advocate along the way with a stronger voice.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you, and you're right. We're probably never going to totally get away from LA County in that sense, unless, of course, we,
Succeed.
annex ourselves, whatever you want to call it there. And what's the probability of that, right?
You can't operate on possibilities. You have to operate on probabilities, and I would say the probability of that is very low.
You threaded that just like a good lawyer. That was good. Recently, our station here, KHTS, held a press conference where SCV Sheriff Station officials told us that Santa Clarita, this safe, wonderful city that you and I both love, is leading LA County in fentanyl-related drug deaths. And this was totally surprising to me. But what can the city do to address this burgeoning issue that seems to be completely out of hand and completely out of character for our community?
So I was at that press conference. I attended personally. Congressman Garcia was there. Members of our city council were there. Captain Diaz was there. And it was a very powerful event. I spoke myself with Jaime Puerta, who is the father who woke up one morning to his son dead in his bedroom. And it was, I mean, I just said that and the hairs on my arm stood up. It was so incredibly powerful. And, fentanyl is basically poisoning kids who think that they're talking to their buddy and saying, "Hey, I want to stay up late and study. Do you have any Adderall?" And these drugs are being laced or hit with fentanyl, and these kids are dying. There's no time to get addicted. It's a one and done. Your child calls his friend to, or maybe they want to pump up for the gym and take some HGH. They're taking one pill and they're waking up dead, or not waking up dead, I should say. And it is 21 people died this year alone of the reported cases.
Yeah.
And so a couple of things that can happen. Every single person, man, woman, and child, should watch Dead on Arrival on YouTube. It's a 22-minute documentary. Sit down and watch it with your child. It is an eye-opener. Second of all, the city is having Chase the High, September 23rd. It's a community event at the City Hall. It's to have questions, comments, concerns, bring awareness to the issue, allow it to be a door opening for parents to bring their kids into the conversation, and the city is putting that on. I think that's great. The third thing the city can do is to help advocate getting this movie into all of the schools as a mandatory watch. We have rain days at school. On a rain day, or it's a hot day, instead of going outside, stay in the air conditioning and watch this 22-minute video. Every single class should watch it.
Yeah. Now, I've seen it. It's rather sobering, and I even think I think, frankly, some churches should probably show that to their congregants because it's a rather eye-opening video.
It's shocking, and it's devastating to think that, it's normal for children to experiment.
Unfortunately.
But it's not normal for children to be killed.
Yeah.
Experimenting.
Yeah.
And that's what this fentanyl is doing. It's killing them.
Yeah, fentanyl is nothing to shake a stick at. Of course, no drugs are, but this is a death warrant essentially.
For sure.
And there's no doubt about that. Well, let's just quickly switch gears here ever so slightly from fentanyl. One of the reasons why that I moved out to Santa Clarita from the density of broader LA County, I was in Norwalk before I moved up here, was the fact that we have a lot of open country out here, a lot of parks and a lot of open air areas where you can hike and do kinds of stuff like that. I guess there was a recent poll taken where some folks are a little distraught with the overdevelopment that's occurring here in our valley. And obviously I remember when I moved here in the 2000s, Plum Canyon, there used to be deer signs. Deer crossing signs in Plum Canyon. Now, of course, there's a grocery outlet there.
Right.
So I'm sure the deer probably just go ahead and stand in line. But the fact is, I've noticed the overdevelopment, especially here going down the 14 freeway and looking to the right here, right before Sand Canyon. All those, those hip new places and hip new homes that they've got built. What say you about the development here in Santa Clarita? You think it's just right? You think it's overdeveloped? What say you, Denise Lite?
I think people have very varied opinions about development. Overdevelopment or development is not bad so long as other things come along with it, so long as infrastructure improves with it, so long as there is a water plan that goes along with it, so long as there are jobs available for all of the people who move here. We don't want to be a city where people come in and out or stop along the way. We want to be a community where people live, work, and play here. And so we have to make sure that we have all of those amenities here as we are developing. Some people say that, Canyon Country, Newhall were developed at a smaller pace than Valencia, and that the city's catching up. Well, that's happening real time in front of our own eyes with the 5-point development across the freeway. That is county property that is not within the auspices of the city, and it is growing, and we're going to end up catching up to them if we don't start forward thinking about the 10 years into the future, what's going to happen.
Yeah. Well, in my opinion, and of course I'm not running for city council, just observation, I do think it's important to have progress, and obviously with progress you're going to have a lot of building. And I think obviously for the last several years Santa Clarita is a much long and sought after place to live. And, as long as we're one of those places that people want to move to, we're going to have people building. So KB homes the signs are coming everywhere. One last question. We're speaking to Denise Lite, running for city council here in Santa Clarita. November 8th, of course, is the day that you guys can make your voices heard. But the final question for you, Denise, is this. Tell me why the residents of Santa Clarita should vote for you in just a few sentences or less, or from your heart, whatever you'd like to say. Why should the residents vote for you instead of going with the status quo?
Couple reasons. Number one, I say it like it is. Number two, I love this city. Number three, I'm a paid advocate in my day job. I would love to advocate for the city the city's behalf to make sure that the city is a great place for everybody to live.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Denise Lite. We're looking forward to perhaps maybe having a huge party on the evening of November 8th.
I don't know if we're going to get election results on November 8th.
Oh, no, it's California.
Possibly the 9th or the 10th. I'm not quite sure.
Or maybe 2 weeks later.
The sooner the better, I would think.
Absolutely. And where will the party be? Vincenzo's? What are we going to do?
I don't. You know what? I'm going to work like I'm losing, and we'll see what happens at the end.
Well, Lord willing, from this pasture to God's ears, Santa Clarita will see the light on November 8th. And so if you would like to know more about Denise Lite, Denise, would you tell people where they can find information about you?
ElectDeniseLite.com.
ElectDeniseLite.com. Sounds pretty easy. When we come back here on Politics in the Pulpit, we're going to talk a little bit about Democrats denying elections and denying a whole bunch of them. And again, thank you very much for listening today. Hometown Station, 98.1 FM and 1220 AM. See you in just a bit.